Welcome to the Your Canadian Ancestry YouTube channel. If you find these videos helpful, please like and subscribe. This is part 4 of my step-by-step walkthrough of the CIT0001 application for Canadian citizenship by descent. Today, we're covering section 10 through the end of the application, so let's get started. Here we are at section 10, additional citizenship information. We're done with the parent and grandparent sections, and now the questions revert back to asking about you. So the first question asks whether you have ever lived in Canada. And for many of you, the answer will be no. If you've never lived in Canada, you will check no, and you will skip to section 11. If you have lived in Canada, of course, you will check yes and enter the dates that you lived there. Section 11 asks whether you were born before 1977. This is a yes or no question. If your answer is no, you will skip to section 13. If your answer is yes, then we're moving down to the next question. For me, it is yes. So the next question is right here. Were you absent from Canada for 1 year or longer before 1977? And for those of us who were born in the United States and never lived in Canada, we are checking no. IRCC is asking this question because under the law before 1977, some people who were already Canadian citizens could have their citizenship affected if they lived in Canada and then spent long continuous periods living outside the country. The question is meant to identify those situations. It is not asking about people who were simply born before 1977 and have lived outside Canada their entire lives. If you never lived in Canada at all, then you could not have left Canada for a year or more. So the correct way to answer is no, and then you leave the date section blank. And then the next question in this section asks whether you were a citizen of one or more countries other than Canada before 1977. If you were born before 1977 in the United States, the answer will generally be yes. And you will give details in the box below. And much like we did earlier in the application, you're going to write USA or United States, your date of citizenship, which would be your date of birth. And then under description of how citizenship was obtained, you would write citizenship by birth. If you were born in the United States, that's how you will be filling out this box. Now moving to section 12. Were you born before 1950? Many of you will answer no and skip ahead to section 13. You will check yes and complete this section if you were born before 1950. And these questions relate to older Canadian citizenship rules that applied before 1947. For many applicants born before 1950, but not born in Canada, the answers to these questions will all be no. If you answered yes to being born before 1950, even if you answered no to everything in this section, I'd still go ahead and write not applicable in this box here. Of course, if you answered yes to any of the questions here, you would just fill in the details that they're asking for here. And then section 13 asks whether you were born on or after December 15th, 2025. For most applicants completing this form now, the answer will be no, and you will move on to section 14. Section 14 is your contact information. Enter your last name, your first name, your email address, and confirm your email address. Your street address, city, province is the same thing as state here. Country, postal code is zip code. And then they ask the question, is the mailing address the same as the home address? For many of us, it will be yes. If you're checking no, then you'll need to put in your mailing address in these boxes provided here. And then if you are applying from outside of Canada and the United States, there's a section about the Canadian Embassy, High Commission, or Consulate. For applicants applying from the United States, this will generally not apply, and you could enter not applicable in this section right here. Then there are boxes for your various phone numbers. If you say don't have a work number, then you would just put not applicable in there. If you're only using a cell number, you would put not applicable in all of the other boxes. And section 15 asks about representatives. This means someone formally authorized to act on your behalf, such as an immigration lawyer, a consultant, or a friend or family member that's filling this out for you. If you are completing this application yourself, you will be checking no. If you do, you are checking yes. And it will ask, are you paying someone to help you fill out this form? That's yes or no. If yes, complete the following details about the person helping you. And if you're naming a representative to do business for you, then you'll need to check yes and fill out the use of a representative form. Link is right here. And you'll need to include that form with your application packet. And finally, section 16, declaration and signature section. And here you need to read each statement carefully in this section and check each box to confirm that the information that you've provided is true and complete, and that you understand the contents of the form. And if you cannot truthfully agree to any of these statements, you should not submit the form as is. And at the bottom, the page we've all been waiting for, you're going to sign your name, enter the city, and enter the date. They ask you specifically here to sign inside the box and in black ink only. And when you get to the signature section, be mindful of the date. The date should reflect when you are actually ready to submit the application. If you're filling this out well in advance, you can leave the date blank and come back to it before you mail it. Just be sure you don't forget to add the date before sending it in. The date should generally match to when submitting the application. Your application can be returned if the date is post-dated or backdated too far from the date they receive your application. And before we move on, I want you to look at the bottom left-hand corner of this page right here. You'll see the form number CIT0001, and you'll also see a date. This one says January of 2026. And that date tells you the version of this CIT application form that you're using. If you're filling out this form well in advance of mailing your packet in, make sure you check the IRCC website again before you send your application in. Confirm that the version date on the website matches the date on the application that you're submitting. If IRCC has released a newer version of the CIT application since you printed yours, you should download the updated form and complete the current version and mail that in with your application packet. Submitting an outdated version of the form can result in your application being returned, so it's worth taking a moment to double check this before you send it. And before mailing your application, make sure you also read through the instruction pages included with the CIT application form. They contain important information and additional guidance that can help you avoid mistakes or delays with your application. That's the CIT1 application walkthrough. I hope you found this series helpful. Please feel free to leave any application questions you might have in the comments.